Step 1. Open the editor in virtual reality. Step 2. Place down a squad of your choice. Step 3. Set combat mode to open fire, behavior to safe, formation to wedge, and speed to normal. Step 4. Place as many move waypoints as you want the patrol to have, making sure your last waypoint is a cycle waypoint. Step 5. Double-click each of the waypoints, and set the combat stance to safe, then click the waypoint transformation drop-down, and set the placement radius to the maximum distance you want the patrol to go from the spawn location. Step 6. Drag a box around the squad, its waypoints, and its squad indicator, and right-click on one of the units, then select Save Custom Composition, give it a name and select a category you want the patrol to appear in when you search for it. To find your patrol in the editor, press F2 or click the Compositions button in the top right, then click the white Custom button underneath and find the category you saved it in. To find your patrol in public Zeus, click the Groups button in the top right, then click the yellow Empty button. From there go to the Custom Compositions drop-down and find the category you save your patrol in.
Understood.
You will notice it has placed each of the waypoints within a 1,000 meter radius of where I spawned the patrol in. This patrol route will stay the same for the lifetime of this unit. However, if I were to spawn in a new patrol, it would have a different set of waypoints in different locations to the first one. For those of you that just want to know how to make the patrol, you can now leave. However, if you are interested in why I have things set up the way I do, then I will explain that in this next section while the patrol engages a few targets in the background, so you can see roughly how it should react in-game. First off, this will work in both script-enabled servers and non-script-enabled servers. This makes placing unpredictable patrols a breeze, as never again will you have to think about where your patrol should go. You just place and forget. And while this does mean you won't have nice patrols that neatly follow paths and roads and such, this way it is harder for players to predict the route a patrol will take, and because even you won't know what route the patrol will have, things will feel more natural, dynamic, and less scripted. Next I will go over these settings, and why they are each important. It is important that combat mode is set to open fire, and not just left as open fire keep formation. This is because the AI that are not the squad leader will be able to move more freely when they get into combat. This will allow them to move further away from the squad if needed in order to take cover, and find better firing positions, as you will see in the clip in the background. Next we set behavior to safe. When AI are in safe mode, they don't use their normal formation and instead default to a relaxed column, in addition to moving at limited speed most of the time. When the AI get engaged, they will automatically switch their behavior to combat stance, where they will go back into their selected formation and switch to the speed setting we set it as. Once combat is over and the AI thinks the area is clear, they will usually go back into safe mode. Speaking of formations, the reason why I tend to stick with the wedge formation is because it is the most versatile formation for the AI to use when in combat. Sure, using a line is more effective if you are making a battle line, and sure, staggered column is better for traveling down streets, but unless you want to be changing the formation of the 20 different patrols you place down every time they change environment, you will go insane. Finally, we set the speed to normal. The reason for this is because we want the AI to be able to run around when they get engaged, as they will be less likely to die if they are not stuck walking slowly to their deaths. It is also worth noting that safe mode automatically changes their speed to limited while they are not in combat, and while sometimes it does bug out and they start jogging, it's better for them to jog when you don't want them to, than for them to die because they got stuck walking. Next, let's take a look at the settings for the waypoints, as that's where all the real magic happens. Starting off with behavior, the only reason why we are not leaving it as unchanged is because sometimes the AI will get stuck in combat mode or aware mode, and this allows them to switch back to safe mode whenever they get to one of their waypoints, and while there isn't anything wrong with them staying in combat mode or aware mode, they won't look as patrol-like, since they will just be running from A to B looking like a Dorito on its way to avenge its fallen brethren. Next up is placement radius. This setting will make the waypoint spawn at a random location with a radius of your choice in meters instead of where it was placed initially. How big I choose to make this radius depends on how capable that unit is at fighting away from support structures such as camps and other units. A rule of thumb that I tend to use is fire teams have a placement radius of 500 meters, as that's how far away I think they can operate away from their base camp without being at risk of getting cut off. Squads I tend to give a placement radius of 1000 meters, as they have more manpower and firepower and are therefore able to operate at greater distances. Ground vehicles I tend to give a radius of between 1500 meters to 2000 meters, and helicopters I give a radius of around 3000 meters. Some other things to note: as far as I know, the waypoints will not be placed in spots that the AI can't get to, so they won't get placed in buildings or rocks and such. However, they can spawn on islands that the squad is not standing on, and yes, they will in fact swim to get to them. In case you weren't paying attention, if you take a look at the battle in the background, you will notice the ANZ's unit in green is losing badly since they only had bushes to conceal them, while the AAF in blue had hard cover to keep them safe. In this scenario, the squad was able to identify that they were losing and so decided to retreat to their spawn area, and because I always tend to spawn patrols at camps, the ANZ squad is able to lure the AAF squad in range of the garrison there. This is a good example of why placement radius can be important. You want the unit to be close enough to their spawn point that there is at least some chance that some of them will make it back to camp alive. Once they arrive back at their spawn location, they will rearm and get more ammo if they need to, before heading back out to their next patrol waypoint. And do remember, it's not like we are using black magic here. All we have done so far is place some waypoints and set their combat modes correctly. The AI does the rest itself. From my experience, most of the people that say the AI is dumb either don't see the bigger picture of what they are doing, or don't know how to use them correctly, at no fault of their own, I might add. Since there isn't a lot of good info out there on how the vanilla AI works, that's why I think there are so many mods that try to change the AI, when in reality they are exceptional as is in the right hands. Before we move on to vehicle patrols, I will briefly explain the completion radius setting that we didn't use. Completion radius does exactly what it sounds like it does. The higher the number in meters, the further away the squad can be from the waypoint before it is completed. It can be useful if you are paranoid that your waypoints will get stuck in trees and whatnot, and can be very useful for vehicle patrols, since they will also get waypoints in the middle of nowhere and not just roads. Moving on to vehicle patrols. While I tend to use them less than foot patrols since I have better methods for implementing vehicles, they can still work fairly well so long as you know how to set them up correctly. The image in the corner shows an ANZ squad in an unarmed off-road. This squad has its behavior, combat stance, speed, and waypoints set up in the same way that the foot patrol is, but the thing you need to manage is the vehicle itself, especially if the vehicle is only a transport and has no weapons. Firstly, the squad leader is not the driver. This is important because it means that when they run into trouble, everyone but the driver will get out, and the squad, and the off-road will follow the squad leader who is on foot, going at the same speed as all the other infantry. If the squad leader was the driver, then when they got into contact, the infantry would get out and the squad leader would simply drive off without them, forcing the infantry to spend all their time sprinting to catch up to the off-road, and none of their time shooting the enemy. It also puts your unarmed vehicle at the front of the pack instead of the back, putting it at risk. The second thing to note is that the squad leader starts off outside the vehicle. This is because the squad leader can bug out if they start off not in a commander or driver seat, and is unable to give orders to the driver for some reason, so by starting them off out of the vehicle, they will immediately get in and be able to order the driver to move. If you're still here listening to my rambling, then congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. I hope this information helped and enjoy your randomized patrols.